Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. So it's supposed to be a happy Friday, but it's not, right? Markets were down today. Bitcoin was down, not as bad as the precious metals were down. I mean, the precious metals today were acting like freaking meme coins today. It was a little crazy what's happening there in silver and gold, especially. We'll talk about what that possibly might mean for us here. There's some fear in the markets as well. We have a new Fed chair that's going to be appointed by Trump, right? That's happening also. We do have some stories on Mara, Cleanspark, and on Hut 8 as well. Some good news possibly as well, and then we'll get into Q&A. But today was a weird day nonetheless here. But let's get into it here. We got to go through this. Not financial advice for doing only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that as always. And let's take a look at here what's going on. Not there. Not there either. Hold on. Bear with me. I got to get my stuff set up straight here. Let's see here. I want to do that. Put that up here. I also need to open up my spreadsheet for the miners. Forgot to do that. Let's see here, miners. Bear with me, folks. I should have been better prepared, but I wasn't. I was reading stuff on X here till the end. Let me see, that's popping up. It is popping up, okay. All right, we got that. I can close this down. Get over here. Pull this over there. Bring up the browser. Okay, there we go. All right. My apologies. Okay, so obviously today gold was down 9%. It was down even more than that. It was down like 10% plus at one point, almost I think like 12%. Silver was down like 30 some odd percent today. It came down to the 50 SMA, bounced off of that a little bit here, but it's still down huge, 26.33%. This is the worst drop in silver that we've had in like 48 years, I think it's been. It was just nuts today. Some people were attributing it to the new Fed appointee there. Which it doesn't start until like May or or May or June or something like that. People are seeing that as the new Fed being more hawkish potentially, based on his comments from the past. Maybe that's what sparked it all here today. But there's also some fear that one bank might be insolvent right now, and we'll see how many more might be insolvent because of all this crashing happening here today in the precious metals. So Monday might not be a fun day for us in the markets here, at least market-wise. Okay, so that's what happened with gold and silver there. If we look at our normal ones, like Bitcoin here, Bitcoin also had a pretty rough day, but it actually bounced, which was kind of nice there. It got, let's see here, Bitcoin today was down just 0.48%, so it wasn't all that bad. It was down more. It was like down 3-4% at one point, I think, maybe even higher than that. But it did get to a low of 81,012 cents. Bounced off of that. We closed at 84,110 and $99, sorry. So nice bounce there. Definitely some support coming in here as it was coming back down here. Our prior low here, at least within the last couple of months, was at 80,524 and 65 cents. So we didn't actually go below that, which is good. As I've been saying, that if we hold the 80,000 mark, I think we'll be okay. That would be in line with the corrections that we've seen before in Bitcoin, 30, 33%, 35% corrections. And as long as we stay above 80, I think we'll be okay. So right now we're still, fingers crossed, we're still okay. And we haven't been completely wiped out here and going into a much bigger bear market, which would then be like the similar cycles that we've had before in Bitcoin, where Bitcoin from the top goes down like 70%, 80% at that point, right? But it hasn't happened yet. So I'm still hopeful, fingers crossed, that we will actually go to the upside here eventually once all of this FUD kind of clears out of the markets here. All right, but the markets were down as well today. Dow Jones was down a little bit, 0.36%. NASDAQ was down 0.94%. S&P was down 0.43%. Russell was down 1.41%. Ethereum today also got clubbered here a little bit. It was down 4.08%. At one point, I think it was down like 6%, 7%, something like that to end the day. So it wasn't as bad as obviously gold and silver. Both of those have gotten wiped out here today. And if you guys follow Mike Alfred on X, he was talking about shorting silver. He did really, really well on that one. He saw that coming. So keep an eye on what that guy has to say, because so far it's been playing out pretty well what he's been talking about here. Next here, miners. Overall, not a great day. Could have been worse. We'll take what we can get, right? So Bitfarms was down 4.49% there. BitTier was down a little bit, 1.66%. Kango was down 1.6%. Cypher was down 9.83%. Cleanspark was down 5.96%. CORZ was down 4.51%. Hive, the only exception to the rule here, was actually up 1.45%. Go figure on that one. Hut 8 was down 9.26%. And IREN was down the most out of the bunch here, was down 10.19% for some reason. Mara was down 3.65%. Riot was down 8.84%. Wolf was down 8.05% here. And if we look at the miners here on the monthly time frame, how did they finish out January here? Well, if we look at Bitfarms, Bitfarms was actually down on the month at almost, well, it was up at one point and it came back down here, but it finished out the month being down 0.43%, so not too bad. BitDeer was actually in the green here for the month. It was up 16.32%. Kango was actually down quite a bit, 18%. Cypher was up a little bit here, 8.13%, so still a green month for that one. Cleanspark is up 17% on the month, so also doing pretty good there. CORZ had a good month here, was up 23.56%. Hive at this point was up 8.14%. Hut 8 right now, and the monthly is up 21.53, so that one's did very well. IREN also did really good here, up 42%. So a little bit of a pullback today, but still ended up strong here. And then we got Mara being up just a little bit, 5.79%. Riot also being up in the green here, being up 22%. And Wolf being up right now for the month, 16.36%. So majority of the miners were actually in the green for the month. That's a good thing, right? Bitcoin actually is being down here. Bitcoin's down about 4%, I think, in the month here right now as it is. And this is our fourth straight month of being in the red here, unless we get some kind of a miracle tomorrow and Bitcoin goes up on a rally of 5% plus. But right now we're down 4.1% on Bitcoin for the month of January here as it is. So we've had obviously October, November, December, and January here being down in the red here. We haven't had that many months here in the red. Let me see when the last time we had this. I mean, we had 3 months here, we had 3 months here, 3 months here. I don't know when's the last time we had 4 months being in the red here. One after another. I mean, we're going back to possibly never here. It looks like this is the first time that this has happened where we've had Bitcoin actually get 4 months in the red here. Basically, it's on the chart that I'm seeing here. We got 3, 3, 3, 2 months in the red. Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we've had 4 months in a row where we've been in the red. So something's definitely different in Bitcoin this time around from what we have seen in the past cycles, at least. Okay. All right, so there's that quick look at those things. As far as the Bitcoin holding companies here, they were all in the red except for MicroStrategy, was up 4.55%. Right, this one has come down to a recent low yesterday, at least. Right, what was that? Closed at $143, where it was all the way at the top, much higher here. This is going back to, well, I think it was November, of 2024, where it reached $543. So it's still way, way down from where it has been. Galaxy was down 4.68% there. Block was down 2.86%. Coin was down 2.23%. Metaplanet was down 4.82%. Exodus was down 6.37%. Nexon was down 10.63%. This thing has had a nice run here, regardless of what Bitcoin was doing. But recently, this past week, this thing has gotten clobbered. It's down quite a bit here. I'm not sure actually what's happening with that one, why it's down so much. But it's down basically 17% in the last week or so, where in the past it has been actually going up while everything else was going down. Phoenix was down a little bit, 0.93%. GameStop was actually up 4.69%. There is news that GameStop CEO is looking to acquire somebody, and we'll actually talk about that because this might be one of the miners, which is kind of interesting that they would possibly do that, but we'll talk about that. Small miners mixed for the most part, but red. Any was down 6.73%. Argo was actually up 4.64%. DigiPower was down 4.06%. DMG was down 1.28%. Mawson was down 6.36%, and Canon was down Canon was actually up 0.43% there. The Bitcoin miner ETFs were in the red here, 5%, 6.4%, 4.9%, 7.5% down. The Ethereum holding companies were all in the red. BMNR being down almost 6%. Digital was down 3.8%. BTCS was down 11.4%. Game was down 6.6%, and SBET was down 5.23%. Other companies that we track here today, American Bitcoin was down a little bit. Was down 1.95. This thing maybe has bottomed out here. Maybe. I still think it's a little overvalued, but maybe it's bottomed out here. Wi-Fi was down 11.4%. That one has had a rough 2 days. Open was also down 7.71%. This thing has been bleeding out for the last, looks like 6-7 days or so. Oracle was down 2.62%. Oracle is definitely down quite a bit. I mean, it's down, 50% from when it peaked here back in September. Right, had that huge rally, and ever since then it's been coming back down. It's down like 50%. Nibius here is down 10.24%. Soluna was down 8.62%, Backed was down 1.76%, Fermi was down 10.10%, Meta was down 2.95% after having a good day yesterday. Google was down a little bit, 0.04%. Amazon was down 1.01%. Microsoft was down 0.74%, and Nvidia was down 0.72%. And then Tesla here today was up actually 3.32%. There's some rumblings around Tesla, SpaceX, XAI that maybe Elon Musk will take the companies with a reverse merger and put it all under the Tesla house for SpaceX, XAI on top of that. That would be an interesting development there if that plays out. And then lastly here, EOS was down 9.12 and New AI was down 6.92 as it was. So quite the turbulent day in the markets and for our lovely miners as well. Right? Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out next week. There might be some more pain here on Monday. We'll take a look at, we'll talk about it here in a second. What else do I want to take a look at? I want to take a look at Bitcoin here for the month of January. Like I said, it's down 4.29%, at least on this chart here right now as it is. Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows. How does that look right now? We had actually inflows today of 18.6 million right now without BlackRock reporting. Yesterday we had quite a lot of outflows, 817 million as it was, with big chunk of that being obviously from BlackRock, 317 million there. It's probably, in the last 2 weeks or so, it's been the most outflow that we've seen here on a daily volume there. All right, next here, some positive stories, maybe not. This is from Bull Theory here. The Senate passed a bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 71-29, and it now heads to the House for a final vote. A partial government shutdown started at midnight on January 31st, 2026, after funding ran out. The House won't vote until Monday, February 2nd, so there will be a short lapse over the weekend. Leaders expect quick passage with retroactive funding. No major disruptions are expected, so that's actually pretty good there if that can get through and get done on Monday there. Obviously, there was some sticking points with Department of Homeland Security funding, or what do they call it? Department of War, whatever that is, and for ICE as well. Those were the two sticking points, I believe, that were kind of holding things up here, but I think they kind of maybe figured those things out. This is from Michael Saylor also, soon Kevin Moore. So this is the gentleman that's going to be appointed by President Trump to be the new Fed chair. But Michael says he will be the first pro-Bitcoin chairman of the Federal Reserve there. I'm not going to play this. It's 2 minutes and 36 seconds, but he actually, in this interview, it looks like the Hoover Institute there, he defends Bitcoin and the reasons why possibly Bitcoin is a good thing for, the government and things like that. So he's definitely pro-crypto. But the big thing, obviously, the markets possibly didn't like today was his hawkish stance on rate cuts and things like that. Maybe that's what kind of pulled everything down today. Time will tell if that was the case. And then here, this is actually from Crypto Klepto. Forbes thinks GME will acquire Mara. So GameStop, like I said, GameStop is looking to acquire somebody there. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but Forbes is reporting it. So GameStop wants to buy its way to 100 billion. Marathon Digital could do that trick there. So summary here, GameStop needs a 9-fold market cap increase to 100 billion for CEO Ryan Cohen, 35 billion payout, necessitating bold strategic acquisition. A high-risk strategy involves acquiring Bitcoin miner Marathon Digital for 5.5 billion, transforming GameStop into a crypto producer reliant on volatile Bitcoin rally, possibly. Alternatively, acquiring Discord for 5 to 8 billion could pivot GameStop into digital services, leveraging its user base for revenue growth to reach 100 billion over several years. So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to acquire Marathon Digital for 5.5 billion. I think the current market cap of as of yesterday, I think it was. Let's take a look at that one. Marathon, what was Marathon's market cap as of yesterday? Where is it at? Mara, there it is. Mara's market cap as of yesterday was 3.9 billion. I think they would have to pay probably a much bigger premium than that. I would say probably closer to 6-7 billion in order to get it. I mean, they could do it if they wanted to, but yeah, I think it's a little far-fetched. I'm not sure how likely that is to happen here. What would they really get from Marathon Digital? Yeah, they get the mining side of the business, but that hasn't been great, right? The monthly operations have been up and down, not really consistent over time. You get debt with it along the way as well. Yeah, I don't know what you would really get for it. Maybe access to megawatts. Then you could get into AI as well. That's a possibility there. Okay, but I thought that was interesting here. Next is from the Kubesi letter here. Breaking new details emerge on the upcoming record-setting SpaceX IPO. They're targeting a conservative 1.5 trillion valuation. Conservative? Really? 1.5 trillion? SpaceX generated between 15 and 16 billion revenue in 2025, looking to raise 50 billion in largest IPO of all time. Targeting IPO launch date of June 2026 to be led by Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America. The biggest IPO in history is imminent, and there have been some rumblings, and Chamath from the All In podcast has also said that he thinks that there's a possibility that SpaceX could go with a reverse merger with Tesla, or Tesla with reverse merger with SpaceX. Along the way, they could also put in their XAI, and then eventually they could possibly also put into it like the what other companies does Tesla Elon have there? He's got the Boring Company, right? And he also has the implant chip into the brain company there as well. They could become like a holding company, basically similar to what maybe like what Alphabet is, right? Alphabet has Google underneath it, YouTube, other entities as well. So it could become like one of those conglomerates, I guess, or something like that, which would be interesting, especially for people that are in Tesla stock already. They would have a benefit from also getting Tesla or SpaceX in there, and XAI, which obviously has X, right? So that would be wild to see that play out. And this makes me think I maybe want to pick up some more, pick up some Tesla shares to begin with. I don't have any Tesla shares right now as it is, but man, if they get SpaceX into that company as well, holy cow. I think the future is going to be much, much brighter here going forward for them. And that could be a way for Elon to get his new compensation package, right? Which is, I think, where he gets like $1 trillion or something like that. If he gets the market cap of the company to a certain amount, that would be one way to do it for sure. If he puts it all under one house and all of these companies are generating revenue like crazy for him. All right. Something to keep an eye on though. Next here, this is from, let's see here, small cap. In the midst of a red day, let me remind you, the United States will need 123 gigawatts of power by 2035 to energize AI data centers. These guys have grid secured power. You got IREN 3 gigawatts, Cypher 1.6. I think Cypher has actually, well, Cypher is more in the pipeline there. Galaxy 1.6. Hut also has more gigawatts here than what's reported. 1 gigawatt. Wolf 750 megawatts. Applied 600 megawatts. All of these guys are definitely going to be used. Well, I think there's a strong possibility that these guys will have all of their megawatts for customers, or whether it's their own neo cloud business, whatever it might be. I think all their megawatts will be eventually used up here in the next couple of years. It's just a matter of time, not when. Or not a matter of if, but when, right? And then lastly here, we have this. Gold and silver are far too volatile to serve as hard monies. We need a more stable asset like Bitcoin here, right? Bitcoin was actually down 1.47% today. Gold was down 8.26. Silver at one point was down 21% roughly. Yeah, it's kind of strange to see that playing out. We've always heard that Bitcoin is just way too volatile to be, hard money, or as a hedge against inflation. And also there's another term that I'm trying to think of right now, store of value, right? That it's too volatile to be that. Well, Bitcoin today has actually been much more stable than gold and silver and other precious metals as well today. All right. So kind of fun to take a look at that. It's fun, but kind of scary at the same time. We'll see how Monday plays out. All right. Lastly, last two things we got to talk about here. Cleanspark executives to discuss Q1 2026 financial results via webcast. This is happening on Thursday, February 5th, 2026. It's also happening at 4:30 p.m. I think IREN is also doing it at the same time, I believe. Let me see. Let me pull that up really quick. Let's see if we can pull this up. Miners, press releases. Let's see here. IREN in the press. Let's see if they have it in the press release here. Yep, February 5th. Okay, same time. Why? Okay, why would they do it at the same time? Maybe, I don't know. Okay, but that's interesting. They're doing it at the same time there. Let me see here. 5 p.m. Eastern time, so a little bit afterwards, it seems like, Cleanspark. Cleanspark is doing it at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, so they're going to be at least a half an hour ahead of them there. But yeah, so we got two reporting on the same day tomorrow, next week, which is kind of crazy there. We'll obviously cover it when it does happen there. Obviously, I'm really interested to see what IREN has to say, but now I'm really interested to see what Cleanspark has to say, because it's the same time that also Amazon has their conference call. So you got three things happening there. Two things really happening there. Either IREN gets a deal with Amazon, or Cleanspark gets a deal with Amazon now. Now that's kind of the rumor, I guess, of what could play out here. Because a lot of us were thinking that maybe with Amazon having the same day reporting, that they might provide something there, that they sign a deal with IREN or something like that. Now we could say, well, maybe Cleanspark got something there. We don't know. So that would be definitely interesting there. And then we also have Hut 8. Hut 8 is going to be reporting theirs on, let's see here, on February 25th this year. The company will host a conference call in the morning there. So they're going to do this before the markets open on that day. So that's towards the end of the month there. We'll definitely cover it when it does happen. We'll see how they're doing as well. So a lot of stuff going to be happening here in the next couple of weeks. We got obviously the Bitcoin miner updates happening for production for January, which we'll hopefully get next week. They've been kind of late to report them recently, sometimes 4 or 5 days out after the start of the new month, but hopefully we'll get some of those coming in here. And then we obviously have the quarterly results coming up as well for some of these guys here. We'll talk about it. It's going to be an interesting week next week for sure. Monday, if it is true that a bank, or at least one bank, has been belly up because of all the volatility here in silver and gold, could that mean that there's others as well? We don't know. We'll find out on Monday what it actually entails, what it means. But keep an eye on X to see what the heck is going on there with that. All right, that is it. It's going to be an interesting week ahead. Enjoy the weekend, I guess. And what do they say? Plan for the worst and hope for the best. Right? So that's kind of the motto going into next week. We'll see how it all plays out here. We might see some more red in the markets here. I think maybe specifically in silver and possibly gold as well. But that's it. Let's get into Q&A here, so what you guys have to say, and then we'll call it a day. Get into the weekend here and enjoy it while we can at that point. And let me see here. I'm going to scroll up and work my way down as always. All right. John says, State of Meta, Google, Amazon, Microsoft will be taking over several Bitcoin mining sites in the next several months, as these hyperscalers will be purchasing 12 to 15 gigawatts of Bitcoin conversion deals. Yes, okay. So John seems to think that's going to be the play there. Let's see here. Rob asked, did you get my second email sub? I haven't checked it. To be honest with you, I don't check that very often, but I will check it now that you let me know. I will definitely take a look at it, but thank you for sending that link there. John says here, had to get in early, got some incredible news. Thursday on CNBC, Power Lunch, which you can Google, Stephen Byron of Morgan Stanley at 20 minutes in. Okay, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. So yes, Bitcoin is going to struggle, but owning Cypher, IREN, Hut, and other HPC miners over the time will make us all wealthy, or just buy DGHI ETF as they're the top holdings there. Yeah, that's an easy way to do it. That thing has been doing great. Let's see. My legs, I'm really glad that I didn't have all my wealth in silver. A 25% drop in one day would be rough. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that in the past with Bitcoin, where it would drop like 25, 30% in one day also, but then it also would rocket up and go into a new all-time high. This time around, we're not seeing that. Milling says, insane it was. Yep. Sadie, thank you so much for the thumbs up. Greatly appreciate it there. JB, thought I'd be out of Cleanspark by February, March this year at the latest. Unfortunately, it looks like I'll be holding for at least another 2 years. Maybe it's not that long. Maybe it's going to be, just the rest of this year or partially this year. If they get some good deals here, maybe they'll help out. Okay. Rob says, Seb, do you know if this new Fed, Kevin Warsh, likes Bitcoin? Yes, he does. Yeah. He's all about Bitcoin. So that's a good part of it. His hawkish stance on rate cuts and things like that might not gel well with the not gel well with the markets. All right. Let's see. Farsight, did you see Cleanspark monthly chart printing a huge descending wedge, tighter ranging? I did not. I didn't take a look at it. I'm not a really good chartist, to be honest with you guys here. But I did not see. But is that a good thing? I think that's a good thing. Rob, so we can now know that Kevin Warsh is pro Bitcoin. Why did Bitcoin now rocket today? Market makers dumb. The part of it, right? I mean, overall, Bitcoin did pretty good. Overall, right? Looking at the markets and how the precious metals have performed today. Excuse me, Bitcoin did actually pretty good here. So we'll take what we can get. But yeah, Bitcoin's still kind of in that range, it seems like. Rob, where's GME going to get that kind of money to acquire Mara? They have quite a bit of cash, I think, with their market cap right now as it is. I think they pulled some money out. Yeah, I think they have enough cash. I would have to look into it, but I would think that they would have something there. Gary asks, why would Trump pick another hawkish Fed chair? We could just keep Powell. No wonder market crash today. Well, that's the stupid part of it, right? The market is crashing based on his comments in the past here, but maybe, he's changed his tune a little bit. We don't know. I'm sure that, I would think at least that Trump talked to him and, where does he see things going forward? I think I've heard, there have been, seen reports that he spoke that he thinks interest rates could go lower based on AI, right? That AI is going to bring things up, and we could go lower with AI, with interest rates at that point. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, but we'll see. Mockop says, MACOP, guess I missed the boat. Okay. Let's see, Rob said, being a Canadian, may I ask if JP Morgan is the largest bank in America? It's one of the biggest ones. I'm not sure if it's the biggest one. JP Morgan Chase is one. Bank of America is another one there. It's like one of the top 3 banks there. Gary asks, why do you think data centers crash when the hyperscalers announce they are raising capex for AI? Shouldn't that be bullish for neoclouds? Seems we lose no matter what they say. Yeah, that is kind of strange too. I think Microsoft got beat up because they said they're going to spend more money. It's like, well, but they also said that they have so much demand that they don't have enough GPUs or cloud compute for it. So it's like you can't have one without the other. You can't have more access to compute for customers that really want it without spending money. You got to spend money to build those things out. So it kind of, it's kind of weird. I don't know if it was just the end of the month here and things were, trending downwards regardless, whether there was good news or bad news, that things were just going to go down. Because we've seen that happen before as well. Bitcoin has gone down towards the end of the month. Markets have gone down towards the end of the month as well. That could be part of it. And then the news on the Fed, the government shutdown possibility here, which obviously may have been averted here, will be a good thing. Let's see, Rob, Seb, can you play that video from the link I gave you in my second email? I can't pull it up right now. First, I want to take a look at it to see what's in there. But I'll take a look at it. If it's good or something like that, maybe we'll put it up on Sunday's show. Okay? All right. Bevnita asks, which bank is going out of business? I had it on X. Let me see if I can. I'm not sure if I'm able to find it here. I was watching it on X. So there was one being reported. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Broken, gold down. Where's it at? Confirm. Corporate. Epstein files. What else we got here? New Fed share. We talked about that. Probably should look at bank failures or just search it. I think it might be an easier way to do that than trying to figure this out. Search. Let's see here. Bank failure. All right. Now, let's see. Not that one. Okay, looks like Chicago's Metropolitan Capital Bank closes as first U.S. failure of 2026. Illinois regulators closed Metropolitan Capital Bank and Trust on January 30 due to unsafe conditions and weak capital. Okay, so that looks like 4 hours. Let's see, breaking massive bank collapse starts today, January 30th. FDIC reports sudden massive failure of Metropolitan Capital Bank in Chicago. Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase could be next. What? Bank runs are now here. Okay, I don't think that's the case there. So it looks like Metropolitan in Chicago. So that's in my neck of the woods. The small Chicago bank failed today. Coincidence or the first casualty there? All right. Let's see. Metropolitan Bank. One branch of Chicago Bank, Metropolitan Capital Bank, was closed today by the Illinois regulators, and the FDIC arranged the first independence bank to assume substantial deposits. All right, let's see my notes on the failure here. What does he have to say here? According to the FDIC, FAQs on the bank failure, broker deposits weren't assumed by the First Independence Bank. So, okay, I'm not going to get into it. So there's at least one here. All right, we'll have to wait and see if there's anything else that pops up here on that one. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the only one that I saw here, at least right now. Nah, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go here. Okay. See, excuse me. Rob says it's Seb, it's a slightly improved version of the first video I sent you. It's Trump speaking exclusively. Okay, I'll take a look at it. And if anything, I'll pull it up on Sunday's show there. All right. Well, that's it. We'll see what happens later on next week. It's going to be a busy week nonetheless. But for the most part, enjoy the weekend. Right? It's never going to be a smooth ride in the market. It's always going to be bumpy. Some things have bigger holes than others in the road, but overall, we'll get to a destination where we need to get to, I think, in time here. All right. Benny says, seems like overreaction from the markets. April all over again. Remember, one more something. One more. Sadie, you're very welcome as always. Thank you. So we get one more. Excuse me. One more dip or one more run up here, regardless of where we're going. So we got a couple more coming in here. Let's see. One more. The questions. That it. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. We'll call it a day. Thank you all for coming in on this late Friday Eve. I greatly appreciate you all. Love you all. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Sunday. We'll obviously talk about miners, how they perform against Bitcoin as always. And then anything else that happens over the weekend, we'll obviously cover it at that point, and we'll maybe look at to where we think IREN will report revenue for next week. Maybe we'll look at that and maybe some other things as well. Okay? But that's it. Thank you again. Have a good night. I'll see you guys on Sunday.